My face currently feels like I've been run through by Tom Stewart.
Puts it to the top of the square. Oh, beautiful little fist in there by Dale. Crucial centimetre moments.
He definitely has a bit of the Belcho spirit. As I have a bit of the Belcho spirit.
Hi, Brian. Connor Nash here. Welcome to the podcast that knows that the true culprit for any time our team loses is Jane Bunn and her 7 News weather agenda. My name is Jack, and I'm joined, as always, by Alistair. How you doing?
It's so funny because I didn't write an intro for this week, but earlier in the week I said, if I'm doing intro, I'm just doing Hi Brian, Connor Nash here.
Just checking to see how you're doing. All-timer.
Go well, Connor
Go
Nash.
well, Connor. I like that he says his name at the start and the end, just in case Brian was too concussed to remember.
Exactly.
10 seconds later. Weekend of footy.
It was okay.
I wrote brief notes for all the games here for my weekend wrap.
Awesome. I was incapacitated for the
you were
entirety of Sunday.
Cooked on Sunday.
I apologise for the noises that came out of my
Seven
body.
7 ginger beer, no water. Melbourne-Richmond, a bit boring. Gorn's still the best ruckman I've ever seen.
Yes.
Anzac Day was a good game until three-quarter time. Unfortunately, Collingwood looked really good. Fremantle-Adelaide was a bit of a snoozer, but maybe Freo were good.
I'll get back to you on that one.
Saints-Lions went as expected. Port North did not go as expected. Bulldogs were way too good for the Giants. Bont is
Embarrassing.
insane.
It was embarrassing for GWS.
played-
I'll give you more on that later.
He played 3 quarters and he'll probably get a Brownlow vote. Gold Coast kicked 12 goals in a row against Sydney, which was bad for Sydney.
Which they have never done in their history before.
Carlton-Geelong was a high-pressure, fast-paced game of football, much like the 2 from last year. If Geelong had Myers, I think they would have been a chance. But it was obviously the Bureau of Meteorology's fault.
It was bomb. It's interesting.
And then the Hawks-West Coast game went how we expected the Hawks-West Coast game to go.
Bit
with a little bit of
shenanigans.
Tom Barras down-forward nonsense.
It was really interesting that Carlton Geelong. Like I looked at on my Instagram, you know how it gives you all the things it recommends for you, and it's something that's from like June last year. And it was Chris Scott saying in the 60-point loss to Carlton that is the best that he's seen a team play against us in ages. And then on the weekend he said it's the worst we've played in ages.
Ever. Yeah, complete opposites. I think for 3 quarters, Carlton should have been further in front.
Yeah.
I think that they allowed Geelong to have a comeback. Because Geelong, especially for the first half, were really poor.
When Dangerfield does what he did in that last quarter, there's not much you can do to
you
stop
can't
that.
stop it. Like he barreled through 2 players. Saab's
Yeah.
not he's not a pipsqueak.
No.
Like the way Cameron and Dangerfield took control that last quarter, they're hard to stop. But
that's the problem, right?
Yeah.
That's the worry. It's not someone like Ollie
Carlton
Henry.
did a really good job of slowing Stewart and Holmes off the back flanks. Like you said, they played off close really well. They really neutralised Geelong's weapons in the absence of Myers.
It's almost like once a year, Michael Voss goes, I remember how to coach. I know how to outdo Chris Scott for some weird reason.
Him and Ross Lyon has been like...
And then he'll lose to Ross Lyon and Matthew Nix the next 2 weeks, which is what's coming up for Carlton. So.
Okay. Yeah, I saw Adelaide and I went, Alice is going to kill himself. Anyway.
I've got actually things to say about some of these games for once, which is good.
Yep.
I came prepared. The Fremantle game is one that I'm interested in because I think it was Hayden Young, don't quote me on that, came out to talk about the Melbourne loss that they had a few weeks ago.
Yeah.
And he said that they want to be winning games 80 to 70. Like, we score 80, they score 70.
That was their model last year.
But that's not a premiership model.
No.
The 70 points is fine. But that's not
you want to
scoring
win
enough.
100 to 70.
And that was the point of bringing in Shea Bolton at the end of last year, was to improve their scoring, which in a couple of games they have gone over 100 this year, I'm pretty sure.
Yeah.
But if they're still aiming to only score 80 while strangling an opponent,
don't want that at all.
That's not great. And that's why when you look at that silly premiership window, which isn't that silly, they're sitting right
on the
bang smack
side.
in the middle.
Yeah.
Because they're aiming for 80-70.
Yeah.
And I think they need to adjust that. Whilst I still think they're good, because their midfield's incredible, I think that they need to adjust that.
And then you got, like, opposite sides. You got Adelaide and Collingwood. You got Adelaide who can't defend, Collingwood who at the moment are struggling to attack, but teams can't score against them.
Yeah.
And then Freo's this weird little...
Yeah, right in the middle.
They're kind of creating the axis for everyone else to sit on either side of.
I always knew it would be Collingwood, Adelaide and Freo, the Axis, the Axis powers.
One chevron, one hoop, one stripes.
So that's my thoughts on Freo. Even though I thought they were good against Adelaide,
They were really good. Adelaide,
were they highly benefited from the fact that they didn't have Fogarty and Phil Thorpe injured himself?
absolutely.
Broke his finger so bad it was poking out of his skin.
Yeah, it was a bit gross.
And they're thinking he's going to play this week. I don't know about that.
He went back out there.
Yeah, I just can't believe it.
But then Silvani went back out there and they're expecting him to miss a week or two. So
He'll miss 2 at least. So like, what's the? I don't know. I don't know the rubric on finger and hand injuries. I've had several of them.
I've had some that are fine within a week and some that take months. So I get it when you
Yeah.
see those ones because I'm like, yeah, no, sometimes hands are worse than other times. I don't know. Jared Bustlinger debuted.
Yeah, finally, it only took, like I said the other day, 16 years.
It was good. I liked it. It was neat.
Yeah, it was fun. He had a couple of moments, but it's
When
his first
Jared
game
West
of
were
AFL.
kicking goals, he was getting the ball, and when Bulldogs started dominating,
It's just one of those interesting ones where you got to back the kid in and give him a second week, but like you can't leave Liam Jones out of that team for too long.
no, I totally agree with that. Like someone's going to make way, and
Yeah,
good chance it's him.
yeah,
Or O'Donnell.
could be any of them.
Anyway, should we go on to votes before we do other stuff?
Yeah, I've got stuff to say, but we can do votes if you want.
Yeah. I've got stuff to say as well, but I feel like get the votes.
Get them done.
Moving.
Move on.
So I had an intro. So who was your one vote?
Are you going to explain what we're doing?
Oh yeah, this is votes on the Scarlett Silvani medal, which is us voting on the best defender of the year, more on defensive acts than Brownlow winning acts. Hopefully Brownlow winning acts. Sometimes these players get votes, but usually not. And you have to have played in the back line. If you're a wingman who sometimes plays defence, that doesn't count.
Yeah, if you're a defender who's played midfield, you're not getting a vote from me.
Yeah, one CBA was enough for you.
One CBA and you are out. Although I didn't check the CBAs this
me
week.
neither.
So. My one vote is to Darcy Wilmot from Brisbane. I think he is really, really underrated in that team. I don't think people talk about him as much as they do the other young guns in that squad. Everyone talks about Loman. Everyone talks about the Ashcroft brothers. I don't think Wilmot gets that same level, and he's really good. He had 30 disposals, 446 metres gained, 9 intercepts, 6 score involvements, 4 rebound 50s. Quite good.
Yeah, he was really good, I thought. They fully neutralised St Kilda's forward line as a unit. I think Brisbane's, because their midfield is so strong, I feel like their back line is sometimes glossed over in general, which is why Fletcher as well, I mentioned last week,
Fletcher is
often
another
gets
one.
ignored. Like he and Wilmot do such a great job. It also doesn't help that Zorko's down there getting 100 disposals a game.
Yeah, picking it up.
My one vote
One vote.
on
I got
topic
one vote.
is Vlostone. One Vlostone. Again, he had 22 touches, 11 of which were intercepts, 6 contested, 9 marks, 5 intercepts. He had 7 rebounds, 476 metres gained. He was really good again. They stayed right in that game for a lot of it. Max Gawn, Oliver Petrarca were just too much.
I feel
in the
like
end.
there was a bit of that fake comeback you were talking about.
Yeah. But like they were in it until half time. It wasn't a very interesting game. I remember one time being like, I've watched this whole game and I was surprised Richmond were in front when I looked down at the scoreboard. It was kind of like an arm's length from Melbourne. They look like they're getting things together again. Gawn's just insane. But yeah, Vlostone was really good.
Yeah, I got the Mighty Flostone in my honourable mentions. So my 2 is to Josh Worrell.
Josh Worrell's my 3.
Yeah, Adelaide. I think he's been really solid all year. Not exceptional, but solid. He had 20 disposals, 9 intercept possessions, no losses from 3 contests, and I think 3 spoils.
3 spoils, 3 rebounds, 3 one-on-ones. He won them all. He had 15.1 player rating, which is always pretty good for a defender.
Yeah, and especially when they lost by, 20 points or so.
And didn't score much.
I thought he did well.
Yep. I obviously couldn't agree more. It was my 3. My 2 was to Jake Bowie.
Jake Bowers in my honourable mentions.
It's interesting, like his numbers
Stats don't really
didn't really
paint
tell
a
the
picture.
story. Like he had
Yeah.
32 disposals, and obviously that's high, but it felt like he was setting up almost
he
everything
was
they were
everywhere,
doing.
which is why I was shocked to see his score involvements as low as they were.
Yeah, I agree. But he had 13 defensive half pressure acts as well. He had 3 spoils, which is for a small running defender also handy. 5 intercepts, 9 contested from his 32. Thought he was great.
Yeah, really good.
So that's your.
I've done my 2, you've
Your
done your
3.
2 and 3. My 3 is Jack Silvani.
Jack Silvani was in my special mentions.
Yeah.
Didn't quite make it.
My real question is, how was he ever played as a forward?
He is so good down there.
And he has won a game or two off his foot up forward. But what were they
he's
thinking?
a natural in the back line. It's actually incredible. And I was bullish on him taking Dangerfield all week.
And he did it.
Great job.
Yeah.
Outside of the high tackle, which was White's fault and not his, Dangerfield was pretty low impact in the first half.
Yeah. He looked more dangerous when he was around Wiedering.
Yeah.
17 rating points, 15 disposals, 6 intercept possessions, 7 marks, 4 score involvements, 1 loss from 3 contests, 5 spoils, 6 rebound 50s. Solid, and they will miss him for 2 weeks.
Absolutely.
Minimum.
He's been super important. I think if there was a game that needed him, it was that one. Like, he was the only person who could match up on Dangerfield
I would
the way he
argue
did.
Adelaide is the other one, but
Yeah.
if they don't have
If they don't have
Fogarty
Fogarty
or
or
Phil Thorpe,
or even one or the other, it helps. My 4 then is Jeremy Howe.
Yeah, that's my 4 as well.
Who was...
I just have written down, I think I might love Jeremy Howe.
Yeah, he's so good.
Every year I come into season like, Jeremy Howe's 38 this year.
He also will be coming off what you thought was his career-ending injury.
Yeah.
He was unlucky not to win the medal. He had 21 disposals at 95%. He had 12 of those were intercepts, which is a round high, 6 contested, 9 marks, 5 intercepts. He had 8 spoils, won 3 of 3 one-on-ones.
No losses.
429 metres gained, 17.6 player rating, 3 score involvements.
Yeah.
He's just great.
Yeah.
You can't ask much more than what he did.
No, not at all. No real faults on him for that game, based on what I watched. So, good stuff.
Well done, Jeremy Howe at 100 and something. Him and Sidebottom being two of the best 5 players on the ground at a combined 70 years of age is nuts.
Yeah.
My 5 votes was to Nick Haynes.
Nick Haynes in my special mentions.
Really, that's crazy.
Yeah.
He was phenomenal.
Intercept king, but I feel like his
8 intercept marks as a round high.
I think he had 6 of them in the first half or something.
Yeah. He had 9 intercepts in total from 20 disposals. Won both his one-on-ones, had 5 defensive half pressure acts and 400 metres gained. I thought he was the difference until the second half, but he was the reason Geelong couldn't get inside.
Yeah.
I think if Myers was kicking, he might have done funkier stuff than the spots Haynes was sitting, but that was obviously what Geelong were missing, and Haynes did a great job of reading the play, setting up in the right spot. And when Ollie Holm was on the last quarter, he had no touches on Haynes. And prior to that, whichever small forward he was manning could barely get near it.
It was really funny because I was just watching the bench footage and they were like, Ollie Henry's been subbed on Haynes, you're going to have to change who you're playing on.
And he monstered him.
I saw that guy, you hate him, Marmalade, his content, the guy just came out of the ground screaming Nick Haynes legacy game.
Who would have thought? Especially after his first 2 weeks.
The first 2 weeks were rough. And I haven't texted my brother-in-law, but I really want to be like, you on the Nick Haynes train yet? He was livid with Haynes after round 1.
And he and McGovern were both really good. Again. The two that were the biggest weaknesses in Carlton's side over the first few weeks have both come around. And like we said, they just needed to play together.
Yeah.
Anyways, who was your 5?
My 5, and it's controversial because they played West Coast, but I've gone Josh Battle for my 5.
Yep.
He had 8 coaches' votes or something.
At one point, he was their only backman that was playing.
They clearly rated him. He had 29 disposals, 15 kicks, 420 metres gained, 10 intercept possessions, 7 marks, 7 score involvements, 5 spoils, and 7 rebound 50s. He feasted on them, and that was without Barras.
He was really
Sicily
good, and Hawthorn were really scrappy. He had to defend a lot more than you would expect.
30 disposals from your fullback.
When your other fullback's playing forward
for fun.
He was really good. I do agree. Scrappy as that game was. My special mentions this week, I had a special mention to Connor O'Sullivan.
I've got him here as a special mention as well.
He had equal round high intercepts with Jeremy Howe. He had 6 intercept marks and 9 spoils, which was the second highest.
He had
for the week.
higher rating points than Silvani and Haynes.
Yeah, he's just very, very good for someone his age. It's to have polled coaches' votes as a key defender as many times as he has in his first 8 games is a bit nuts.
Yeah.
I had Jack Silvani, who you obviously gave votes to. Jack Buckley, I also thought was really good.
Got Sam Taylor down.
And Trent Rivers is in a bit of a run currently for Melbourne. So
also have Dan Rioli.
And then I wrote,
really good for the
I did a
Gold Coast.
segment that I've never done before, which is round highs for the things we look at. Billy Frampton capped out the spoils with 10. Jeremy Howe and Connor O'Sullivan had the intercepts at 12. Stephen May had the highest number of one-on-one neutralisations. He won 6 out of 7. Jordan Ridley was the best for not losing one with 4 out of 4. And Luke Ryan had the best rebound 50s with 10.
That's about right. That sounds
because
right
he just
every
kicks
week.
out. That doesn't really...
Not just that, either that, or they kick it straight to him and then he kicks out at the 50.
But I just thought that'd be a little bit of chuck in this week.
Yeah, which I want to go straight into stocks up, stocks down there.
Hell yeah.
Because you touched on something I wanted to talk about.
All right,
there.
excellent. I've stocks up, stocks down this week.
So stocks up for me.
It's hard to find a stocks down that I haven't already sold all my stocks.
I don't know if I did my stocks down on my stocks down already, but if I have, I'm doubling down on my
fine.
selling.
So are you going down or up first?
What do you want?
Up first.
Up first, steel side bottom.
Yeah.
I am shocked. I thought it was just like a fleeting little vein of form for the first few weeks, but he genuinely is in career best
If
form.
you showed me last year's June steel side bottom,
Yes.
and you said next year he will be Collingwood's best player, I'd have said, what the fuck are you talking about?
Yeah, he's genuinely ripping it.
He's equal leading the coaches' votes in the comp right now.
Which is insane. He's taking the piss.
And also, he's got Nick Dacos in his team, who is also equal leading
he's
it
equal
with
leader.
him.
It helps when you win six of your seven,
6 out of 7
5 out of
games.
6 or whatever.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, it's a bit of a bit of a joke.
It's outrageous. He's playing awesome football.
Yeah, seriously.
I wrote stocks up,
Retire.
and I put a note. I said I already had stock, but I'm buying more in Elijah Hollins.
That's
I
fair.
was so big on him as being the biggest out for Carlton at the start of the year,
And it kind of shows, doesn't it?
As soon as he came back in, he's been awesome. His link from midfield to forward line makes all the midfielders and forwards look better.
It's something that I'm bullish on for Carlton's future. Is his hands are so quick, and he makes the decision as he's kicking, and he's able to pinpoint that, which I know other players can do, but Carlton don't really have that.
And to call out a certain Carlton-related podcast, sometimes if you let players come back when they're ready, they perform really well. And Carlton let 2 players deal with what they had to deal with, and they both were probably in their best 5 players.
Yeah, I think coaches' votes, they were both in there.
Like it's just
No, Hollins
wasn't, which is
crazy
crazy
because he's the highest rated player on ground.
But yeah, like those 2 have come back and are just in amazing form. So
Yeah.
Awesome.
And it does wonders for the rest of the team because you're able to have Ollie Hollins play more up the ground, which is huge for him because it's getting caught out a little bit in defence. So,
I saw him shrug some tackles on the week instead of
he
getting
was
caught. Stocks down.
Stocks down, and I don't think I've ever had stock in him, but my stocks down is Ross Lyon.
Yeah, oh, me too. I wrote Ross Ball, but yeah.
I said it to you in a message either today or yesterday. I don't remember. I had a nap at some point. 3 weeks ago, St Kilda were having had the best youth in the league. They were a destination club, and Ross is an amazing coach. Cuddly Ross is here to stay. 3 weeks later, they're a mess. The midfield is non-existent, and Ross is losing it when it comes to both players and journos. He had a full-on go.
Matthew Lloyd this week being like, if you were De Koning, why would you want to go to the rabble over the road? When it was like 4 weeks ago, I was like, you'd rather be there, wouldn't you?
He's kind of right. But $1.7 million, I'd fucking play for Collingwood, mate.
Yeah.
I'd get those jabs.
I would say, like, I remember when
Hill.
Ablett left Geelong to Gold Coast, and Dad and I were both like, for that kind of money? Of course you go.
How much would you pay prime Gary Ablett today?
Mate, you'd give him half your salary.
Yeah.
Like, it just...
He'd be... fuck the first $2 million player.
He's one of the few players who, if you put him in now, he'd somehow be better. Like, the rules would suit him because they're more... Like, there's no fun.
I don't like the idea of a 6-6-6 rule with Gary Ablett.
He was kicking 8-second goals without it.
Yeah, anyway, Ross Lyon, he's... I like, and I've always been a fan of them because I think they're silly. I like the prickly press conference. I like Chris Scott going, I don't want to answer that.
I liked his one this week when he tried to step around it and he just went, honestly, it's like, I'm actually just don't want to answer this question.
Yeah, they're playing Collingwood next week. He's not going to talk about their inside mid weakness.
Yeah.
I like it when Ross Lyon deflects and starts talking about White
Lotus.
Lotus.
Yeah.
I liked it when Mick Malthouse just had a full-on tear about nothing. Like, it's silly.
Kevin Sheedy used to do them great as well. Marshmallows, aliens.
I don't want every press conference to be, there's some growth in the game, and I think if we play our way, we're going to do better next week. Like, fuck that shit.
You don't want Horsehall Longmuir conference.
But at the same time, Ross Lyon is definitely throwing the bathwater out right now.
The way he was like to the journalist who asked him, it was Bastiani, who is phenomenal.
Yeah.
Like, she does know her stuff.
And I don't want to be that guy, but very prickly to a female
It felt a little, especially with a man with his history. The way he was like, well, what do you think it was? It's like, well, she's asking you the question because you're the coach, Ross, and you're at a press conference that your fans will listen to so they can find out the answer to the question she's asked. I didn't like it. But more than that, if there's anyone you're going to spray on the bench like that, it's not the second youngest player in your team who you've given 20 minutes of game time. And I felt there was a weird, like, schadenfreude when Mason Wood got concussed. Not because he got concussed, which is always bad, but, like, when you rip a kid from the game midway through the second quarter and tactical sub him out, and then you need the sub, that's on you.
Yeah.
Like, you've done that to yourself. It stunk of hissy fit throwing.
Yeah, and props to him. I didn't think Zach Jones was going to have an impact, but he had an immediate
did.
impact, and it was great.
But maybe you could have subbed Keeler or like someone who was actually not doing anything.
What did Keeler end up on for that game? Like 2 disposals?
1 disposal, I think. Anyway, there was
3. He had 3 disposals, 1 kick, 2 handballs, 5 hitouts.
Yeah.
So,
like, I don't think that's giving you much. That,
no.
like, at least Garcia's tackling and, like, putting on pressure around the ball.
And
I think
for reference, in that 30 minutes of game time, Garcia had 1 more disposal than him, 2 more marks and 1 more tackle.
I think the main thing as well is, like,
5
what's the
less
point of giving a spray if you then just sub them immediately? Because that, like, they can't go out and action anything that you've told them.
Yeah.
It felt bad.
It's a bit of that old school coaching, right? And like
which we've learned doesn't work.
I think there's room for a spray.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you need to do it,
but there's like
look at the success that Craig McRae's had, and I guess around the fringes, like why people like Uze and McQualter are getting jobs, is because it's a different.
Chris Scott completely changed his coaching method
100%
on recommendation.
I still reckon he fucking sprays those guys.
Like for sure. But like when required is very different to a Ross one, and on the bench as well. Like it was such a flashback to like when coaches weren't getting the most out of players.
It's just
like there's a reason
hanging out the window.
There's a reason that's a new age coach, right? There's a reason it works. And like some of my favourite clips of football audio in history are sprays. Like I think of the show a bit of fucking fight from Stewie Dew. I think I'll spew up from Terry Wallace. Like there's some great ones, but
not a spray. But I was telling my sister about the Will Minson one the other day.
Fuck you, Will.
Because we were talking about Leon Cameron.
The Leon's the best
my
part. My
favourite bit of Leon Cameron's entire coaching history is that
the best part is him just being like, Rocket, you can't think, mate. Like. Nothing. The rest of the audio is funny, but it's just Leon's defeated, like, Rocket, mate. We can't think. Was very good. Anyway, so a few things. Sam Darcy's had a miraculous recovery from an ACL to a 3-month knee surgery to now he's back in 6 weeks. They reckon. That's crazy. Chad Warner re-signed.
Yes,
2 years.
Which is smart. I mean, anyone who's up for free agency in 2 years, just take the 2-year deal.
Always. Connor Nash got 4
because
weeks.
St Kilda might have 2.6 million by then.
I thought Connor Nash was lucky to get 4 and not 5. I was shocked the AFL didn't ask for 5.
I think 4 is around about right because it's very clearly accidental.
Yeah, I just thought the AFL would ask for 5, maybe go down to 4. I was shocked they didn't start there. Curtis got 3, it was upheld. I think the matrix is wrong. I think the suspension is right.
I think if you tackle someone and bring them to ground like that in one motion, and you have both their arms pinned, you're liable for the outcome.
Especially if you're lifting your feet off the ground to like whole body weight them down.
But I don't think the difference should be, they didn't get concussed at 0 weeks to, they got concussed at 3.
Absolutely. Like I think, like I look at it feels like the one that was the landmark one a couple of years ago with Nathan Broad on Peatling. That one, I'm like, absolutely 3-4 weeks. Like, every time I watch it, I'm like, that is a 3 to 4 week offence. He lifts him off the ground. It's 2 motions.
If you lift them off the ground, it should be 4 weeks.
Yeah, like, I get
just
that.
2 motions,
but when I see someone who's just, like, driven ahead into the ground, I'm like, sure, give it a week or 2. But, like, 3 feels extreme. Especially when he's North's only good player at the moment.
Yeah, it's a bit rough, isn't it?
I have last post fatigue. I think... we talk about it a bit with jumpers and stuff as well, but I think like you can have the ceremony at the games on Anzac Day. It cheapens Anzac Day to do it on the other days.
It's a controversial take, but I tend to agree. I think that I think we should be celebrating it.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong. I feel that it's just like tacked on. That's what it feels like, and I feel like some of those.
Part proceeds. You're like, part, not all.
What was was it the Melbourne one with the fighter?
The Jets.
The Jets on it.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's tacky.
It felt like they'd lost a bet to Essendon and they had to wear it.
And like, I don't mind it if it's just the poppies in the sash. That's good. I don't mind it if it's just the badge. That's good. I feel like
I loved Carlton's just the badge. for a long time, did just the badge. I think the badge is fine for Anzac round, especially because they are fundraising for the Anzac appeal.
Yeah.
That's fine. I think the jumpers feel like a cash grab, and I feel like the last post playing for every game feels like a lot.
If you just did the last post for the 2 games on Anzac Day and sure, the one on Anzac Day Eve, which is not a real day, that's fine by me.
I did learn that in 2095, if we're still alive, not just us, but like football,
Not me.
Anzac Day and Easter Monday will fall on the same day.
Cool.
So that'd be like one would have to be a day and a night game.
That'd be. Well, I mean, it would be.
It'd be the busiest day at the MCG ever.
Yeah.
Both of those games had 90 plus.
AFL will explode by then.
Yeah. Oh yeah. I don't know if Australia will exist by 2095. I won't be around to find out.
No.
Next week's game of the week.
Ah, good. Do you have one? Because
I've got one. I'll run through the games. We'll do tipping, I guess, on the way through, and then we can do game of the week after that. So Essendon North. I'm picking Essendon.
Is that next week?
Yeah, it's Thursday.
Yes, I have picked Essendon.
Yep. I'm picking Freo to beat St Kilda.
I'm picking. That one's borderline for me, but right now I've written down Fremantle just because I think St Kilda are in a bit of a hole.
Bulldogs Port. I'm picking Bulldogs.
Bulldogs you can't go against.
I'm leaning towards Adelaide because it's in Adelaide.
I'm tipping Carlton. Obviously, I tip them every week.
I'm tipping Geelong because I can't not tip them every week when they're at least good.
Yeah.
I'm tipping Geelong because it's the kind of game they win.
I
It's a
agree.
modern rivalry.
But with Collingwood's form, I cannot tip against them.
I'm tipping Melbourne to beat West Coast, although last year...
This is one of the touchiest games of the round, but with Melbourne, if Max Gawn and Petrarca play the way they've been playing...
West Coast's midfield is the easiest to beat at the moment in the comp, and Melbourne's midfield has just hit all cylinders.
They need to touch them up.
It's a big game for Melbourne to prove that they're back in.
They need to beat them by at least 40 points, I think.
And we can all be like, and we can both be like, oh, thank God, like they maybe will finish between 9th and 11th. We thought they would be and not last. Sydney and GWS. I'm picking Sydney.
I am
Jesus,
so on the fence about this.
It's so hard.
Because this is my game of the round.
It's not mine. Mine's Adelaide Carlton.
I still haven't decided.
Purely
yet
because
on
they've
this one.
played some insane games in the last few years.
Don't mention.
I know you don't want to. I know. But
if Ben
it was
Keys-
this time last year too, wasn't it?
It was round 5.
Yeah, because it was
Carlton had won 4 in
Beth
a
was
row.
doing Tokyo Alley, and she's doing Tokyo Alley this weekend. I was
Either
picking her
way.
up, but it happened.
I learned a lesson that game last year is that I need to not be so heavily emotionally invested in games. And I've been good since then. It fixed me seeing my behaviour in that game. I was so angry. Matt Owies.
I was just about to say Matt
ground,
Owies.
and I'm glad
it's so
he-
funny how fast West Coast fans have turned on him.
I'm glad he's playing for West Coast now because of that.
Ben Keys was the
Ben
was the game.
Keys.
But I mean, he won their best and
If he
fairest
gets
last year.
gastro
Like,
in the week, I'll be fucking fist pumping.
It was interesting, like, because back then, like, with the Carlton game and the Essendon game early last year, we made a lot of jokes about how he pops off against those teams. But then he just did it all year.
Yeah.
Like, it was like, he used to just do it against them, but then it was just like...
I think he's obviously
just good.
really good. I'm going to come back to this game. I haven't tipped yet. This is the one I haven't tipped
The City
on.
GWS?
No.
Yeah, I've been flip-flopping.
And I'm going to talk to you about my cases on it
I
in a
think
moment.
Teams is going to impact me as well. Because, like, if Wicks is back, that is a boost for Sydney, because they've been playing a very weak side.
Hawthorn. I'm
Is
tipping Hawthorn.
Heaney fit? Yeah, me too. Hawthorn. And then Brisbane, Gold Coast, I'm picking Brisbane.
I'm also picking Brisbane. I think the experience is too much.
I think Brisbane are a really good team.
I don't, and I know they got touched up by Collingwood a couple of weeks ago. I don't think Brisbane will let Gold Coast midfield do what they did to Sydney last week.
And I know it's hard to judge stuff at this time of year.
This is probably actually the game of the round. It's the first time these two have ever been in the top.
I like that we've
8.
got both the Northern States clashes on the same day, which
Yeah.
I guess is why look out for it during the week. But Emlyn Brees, of credit to Dubois, is writing a breakdown of all the different rivalry games and marquee games.
That's why you were asking about
Which
it.
ones are close, which ones aren't, with attendance, and then use the back pockets rivalry figures
Oh boy,
to run it as well.
not those rivalry figures.
I think that will be an interesting game. I just think like the way Gold Coast maybe should have lost to Adelaide. That's Adelaide fans will absolutely say they should have. And Adelaide are a team that I would expect Brisbane to beat handily.
Yeah.
That run against Sydney was just something else though, and it wasn't fueled by Rowell. It wasn't
Sometimes
like
those
it
kind of
was
runs change your season.
like Humphreys and Walter and like the players who haven't been doing it just turned it on. So like it's really hard to completely say that I was wrong about them, but I might have been wrong about them.
So yeah, I want to dive into Sydney GWS and
Yes.
how both teams have issues at the moment.
Oh, yeah.
So my main issue watching GWS currently is, well, there's two. One is that the ball goes inside their defensive 50 too many times per game. I think the stat is that the premier of each team, the team that takes it all, is in like the top 4 for lowest inside 50s against,
Yeah.
which is where teams like Collingwood are sitting at the moment. Like it looks good for them on that front. GWS are like 16th right now.
Yeah.
It was the same last year, and it's been the same ever since they made
It
that
is, and
grand final.
it's why I didn't have them in my 8 this year.
To
I
start.
had them I think I had them 8th or something.
It's an issue that whilst they have two of the best key defenders in the game, that weight of numbers gets you eventually. And that's what happened against the Bulldogs. They couldn't stop it. The other problem is their forward line is too tall.
Yeah.
And that stops them from being able to lock it inside 50. So they're currently playing Hogan, Cadman, Stringer, and Riccardi. Now, Riccardi, you cannot drop because not only did he kick 3 goals, I think, but he's playing their second ruck. And he did a really, really good job from what I saw on the weekend.
Arguably looked better than Briggs.
So Hogan and Riccardi are locks. Cadman's the future, so you have to play him. Stringer has to go.
Stringer has kicked like 1 goal 7 this year and a couple out in the fall.
I think he's kicked more than that. He kicked 2 goals, 2 against Adelaide.
Okay, but either way, he can't kick a goal to save his life currently.
But I looked at his stats, so particularly in the 2 bad losses. No, they beat the Saints, didn't they?
They did, yeah.
So against the Dogs and against the Saints. Against the Dogs, he had 10 disposals, 2 marks, 2 tackles, 0 goals, 2, and 4 score involvements, which means half of his score involvements were him missing.
Yeah.
Against the Saints, which is where he kicked 2-2, he had 8 disposals, 2 marks, 2 tackles, pretty much exactly the same. He kicked 2-2 and had 5 score involvements, which means all of his score involvements were him kicking.
He's kicked 3 goals this year.
3 goals.
And he's
2 of them against St Kilda.
He's averaging 2.4 behinds a game.
He really is not playing the team game. And that's why I think he has to go. But the problem is, I feel like if they drop him, they're just going to bring in Brown, who is more of a team player, but they're still too tall.
And if Brown didn't drop all those marks earlier in the year, they probably would have won a couple of games. I would like to see them bring in... I said his name to you earlier today.
Gruszewski?
No. He's got a funny name.
They all have funny names.
Yeah, I know. They've all got funny names.
Fahey.
Give me a second. I'll bring up his name.
All right. 16.
Gothard. Phoenix Gothard.
Oh, yeah.
I would like to see him play.
I've always said Gotthard.
Gotthard, me too. Or P. Gotthard is funny. That's what I was saying. Got a funny name.
On the flip side of this, because they're playing Sydney, Sydney looked wretched in that second half today. But I put to you, if you took 7 best 22 players out of any team...
I have notes on Sydney here.
So Adams, Amadi, Fox, Goulden, McDonald, Mills and Papley are all best 22.
Yep.
If you take the best small forward, the best 2 key forwards, 1 of their best defenders and 3 of their best midfielders out of any team, they're cooked.
Also, arguably the best small forward in the comp in Papley.
Like not on current form, but like over extended period, he'd be right up there.
So the other thing I had I had that exact same list. They've got a 12 long injury list currently.
Yeah.
So even the depth players can't come in.
That's exactly what I've written down as well. Who do they bring in?
They've played. The team's currently sitting 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 9th, and 10th, and then obviously beat 17th.
Yeah.
They've played the top 4, and then Port and Freo. It's not. They have had a wretched draw to start the year,
which is what you expect when you make a grand final.
Absolutely, I saw people talking about Port, and I was like, they finished 2nd. That's why they've had a hard draw. But they've played hard teams, and they're missing so many of their best players.
How does Hayward, who had a horrible game on the weekend, how does Hayward impact when he's getting the best defender because Papley's not there? How does their midfield defend when they're missing their biggest body in Adams and their silkiest player in Goulden? They're not able to break lines
Mills
without him.
As well, it's just
Mills. Up in the air about.
And also,
Mills,
Fox is their best defensive. He's the Willem Drew, the Tom Atkins, the player who lets the other players do what they can.
Yeah,
he's not there.
It's they've got 4 games coming up that I think are quite winnable.
Yeah,
they've got GWS obviously, which they could win. They've got Essendon, they've got Carlton, they've got Melbourne.
Essendon and Sydney are always.
The problem is, all of those players are 5 weeks away.
I think
They're not getting any of those troops back.
Papley's within 2. Papley and Wicks are both
I thought they were 3 to 4.
maybe.
Based on what I looked at. And that was last week's
Yeah.
injury list I was looking at, so I haven't seen the updated one. But potentially they're all 4 weeks away. And if they lose 3 of those games,
Then
they're cooked.
Yeah, absolutely.
They arguably can't even drop one of them.
No, but they need to win 3.
So GWS, Essendon and Carlton are the risky ones.
Yeah.
Melbourne, you should hope they'd have.
But they need to win 3 of them.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah, it's tough. I'm glad you bought it because I had the same kind of list of notes there about Sydney. I was like, it's no wonder they started like this when they've got...
already coming for Dan Cox.
Yeah. He's not got much to work with.
The only
currently.
coaching error he's made this year is moving McCartan forward multiple times.
Yes.
Put him in the back line
Leave him there. Please, he's your best defender.
Especially when Fox isn't playing.
No.
What are you doing?
And Mills isn't playing.
I mean, I really had a great time.
Blakey's banging home goals from fullback though,
when
apparently.
they subbed in Francis the other day and he kicked 3 goals.
That was so funny.
That was so good.
He almost kicked 4 in a row.
It's
Crazy.
one of those ones where it's like, Harrison Petty's had a good game. They're going to be tricked into
Streets-
playing him as a forward again.
The streets will not forget the day Aaron Francis kicked 3 goals in a row to almost win Sydney the game.
Yeah, put that on the Friday footy quiz.
Yeah, I agree. And I do think it'll be a good game. It was one of my bolded ones. I bolded Adelaide, Carlton, Geelong, Collingwood, Sydney, GWS and Brisbane Gold Coast.
Those
are
those. If you watch 4 games this weekend, watch those ones.
Yeah.
And I guess Thursday night because you've got nothing else on.
Nothing else on.
You've got nothing else on.
And it's
Don't lie to
Essendon
me.
North. North hate Essendon for some reason.
Would be funny.
It's really like that Mad Men bit where like North's like,
Yeah.
you took everything from me, and Essendon's like, I don't even know who you are. Which is also how it's like for Essendon to Collingwood. Like it's just like there's this weird like Port and Geelong, same thing. Like there's just this whole layer of teams who just like don't care about the other one.
I feel like Gold Coast to Brisbane's
Yeah,
the same.
yeah. Brisbane's
and I'm
like,
hoping we finally get some smackdown on that one.
well, it's like it's funny. GWS and Bulldogs should be like that, but Bulldogs I do hate GWS because they beat them in the important one.
Yeah.
But like that in the last 9 times they've played, Bulldogs have won 8 now.
I wish I'd known that before I tipped them.
Yeah, well, I tipped the Bulldogs, thankfully, but I didn't know that before I tipped them.
Yeah, you were so... I saved a meme, and this is an audio-only podcast, so this is a totally stupid bit. But I was too sick to send it to you.
Okay, yeah.
Oh, no, have I deleted it? Here it was. This was you, after Geelong lost.
Yeah. Yeah, it was really rough. I would have got a perfect week. I made and you can check the Back Pockets Twitter for this, it's one of the most recent images we posted, but I made a Catman and Jane Bunn
I did see
picture.
it. I almost liked it, and I'm like, no, I'm not liking one of your tweets. I'm not giving you an ego trip.
But yeah, if you missed that, we've made a couple of jokes about it now, but Catman, Troy the Catman, I don't know his last name, one of the most universally disliked cheer squad people in the comp, I think, did not blame Geelong or anything for the loss, or even the umpiring, which a lot of fans were, which I don't think you can do when you were at some point like 40 points down. He blamed the Bureau of Meteorology, but not even them, specifically Channel 7 Melbourne's Jane Bunn.
Did he call her a witch?
He did call her a witch, yeah.
Which is questionable.
I think he thinks she controls the weather.
My main argument would be Carlton would have been training for the exact same weather.
I was having a big run-on laugh about this with a few people today.
Someone said they watched the other news channels.
We were like, no, they're like, Carlton have paid Jane Bunn to lie, and they know Geelong watched that.
Do you reckon Geelong watched they're opening their app, going to the bomb, or just checking the weather on the iPhone or Android, just saying, oh, it's going to rain? Cool, let's go.
And Jane Bunn, who supports St Kilda, obviously hates Geelong.
Oh, yeah.
So she's in cahoots
Actually,
with Ross.
you've just made the whole theory credible.
And the weather doesn't matter to her because they play under a roof. Anyway, that was the dumb run-on conversation a few of us had about it today.
Yeah, that video was something else. I just kind of watched stunned and went, that's...
Brisbane are wearing the old Bears kit this week.
I did see that.
But not the brown. They're wearing maroon instead. I think it looks better with the brown. It still looks cool.
Yeah, it's an interesting.
It's very much one of those nostalgia ones.
Wear
it's like,
it when you're playing against a team that has no logo on their jumper.
It's one of those like I'm like, do I actually like this or do I just like that it's the old thing? Because
is the old AFL logo on it?
I saw someone say the other day they were like, how does this look good now? But I thought it looked dog shit for the entirety of the Bears' existence.
Nostalgia.
And that's the same as a lot of people with the Freo kit. But I always thought the old Freo kit was better than the new
awesome.
one. Not just because I was an unpopular liker of the old Freo kit, but because the new one sucks.
Yeah,
That's the main issue.
I think them having green on their jumper was a unique selling point. Obviously, that's being stolen by Tasmania, so rip. We'll never get the old Freo jumper back properly. But purple and white, why is that it now?
Yeah, I don't know. They had colours. And, like, tricolours means you can make the coolest merch, means you can do way cooler advertising and promo stuff, and you take away the colours and it sucks. St Kilda's
And
merch
they didn't fucking clash
all
with anyone.
looks dope. Bulldogs merch all looks dope. I wish I had my club had a third colour. Damien Barrett, on both Monday and Tuesday of this week on AFL Daily, referred to AFL as a, and I quote, combat sport.
Huh?
Not a contact sport, which is what it is, but a combat sport.
I don't think it's a combat sport.
It's not, which is literally a fighting. It means karate or judo. But twice to defend. Obviously, he's a bit of a North Nuffy. I get it. But to defend Paul Curtis's tackle, he referred to the AFL as a combat sport. And these things happen.
Punch someone, you get suspended.
But yeah, if you do combat, can't play the sport. They're the rules. And yes, the tackle isn't dead. People just get mad when someone gets done for a dangerous tackle.
Yeah,
it's incredibly rare. It's like 4 in every 10,000 tackles get suspended.
Feel like, I don't know if it was last year or the year before, I feel like they were the first 7 rounds of the season we were at the tribunal every week.
Yeah, and like a few of them get taken down, which means that it was just the MRO that was wrong and not the rules. Last year, I think there was like 20-something total got fined, and only like 7 got suspended out of the 25,000 tackles that were laid.
Spoilers. People tackle a lot per game.
Yeah, and like
150 tackles a game.
People get suspended way more for stuff that's not tackling than they do for stuff that is tackling. It happens once every like 5 to 6 weeks. Everyone goes into everyone's up in arms about it. It's not that big of a deal. It was really funny seeing Luke Parker be like, well, I guess it's a non-contact sport now. It's like, Luke, you've laid 30 tackles this year and not been suspended once. It's clearly not a non-contact sport.
Yeah, it is a bit ridiculous. But all of those North boys are on the socials potting it now,
Yeah.
so hopefully they all get fined.
Clarko's he's bringing good culture to the club. The shit-eating grin Kane has every week when Luke Hodge goes at him about Clarko is funny to me. I don't know why Hodge keeps trying, because Kane's just sitting there smiling.
It's because Hodge has a good point. Give him time. And Kane's like, well, I gave him a week and he's still shit, so fuck you.
And I guess if you don't like that, that's what you get for watching that show.
Yeah, that show, those two will not be on it together next year, I guarantee it.
No way. Hopefully neither of them, but Kane's money. Kane brings in money, unfortunately.
Yeah, Kane...
He is the master of what he does. During, like, last week was one where he had, like, a sensible take. He was like, Max Gawn is the best ruck of the modern comp. And Richmond fans lost their mind about it. And it's like, what do you mean?
Yeah,
Who cares if Nang's got 2 more flags? Jack Darling has more flags than Gary Ablett Sr. Do you think he's a better footballer? There is definitely a West Coast fan who would say yes. There's definitely one out there. All right, let's do the Friday footy quiz.
I'm glad this is an audio-only podcast.
That'd have to be a Sava Radicalia at the top if you said it out loud.
I wasn't going to say it out loud.
How many of round 6's winners were ranked higher on the ladder?
I fucking don't
than their
know.
opponent?
4.
It was 2.
Okay. Shit round.
Who captained Collingwood on Anzac Day? In
Nick
Darcy
Dacos.
Moore's absence. Correct. Jack Crisp is set to equal, or did equal, which long-standing record of the AFL?
Who he equaled it with?
What was the record?
Most consecutive AFL games.
And who?
VFL.
Who?
Jim Steins.
Correct.
Jim Owen Steins.
How many of Luke Parker's 300 games did he play at Sydney?
What round are we in?
We just did round 7.
294.
293.
Ugh, that's annoying.
Who has won more of the 29 Anzac Day matches?
Collingwood.
It's Collingwood.
They
They seem to win all of them, except for that Zaharakis one, which was the coolest highlight.
Which is funny because it's the one that people talk about the most.
Yeah. I talk about don't boo a champion way more.
That's funny.
What a misunderstanding of the moment. With the greatest ever number recorded to this stage of the season, which is still true a week later, which player currently leads the league for tackles?
Oh, Tom Atkins.
Tom Atkins, who laid another 12 on the weekend or something stupid.
He's outrageous.
In which year did West Coast win their first grand final?
92.
Correct. Carlton's most recent premiership victory was over Geelong in 1995, and who was Carlton's coach at the time?
David Parkin.
Correct. Name the next player in the sequence. Riley Philthorpe, Sam Darcy, Will Ashcroft, Colby McKercher.
It's pick twos.
It is, yeah.
Finn O'Sullivan.
Correct. I also had a similar, had to think about what it was and then figure out who it was. I got 10 out of 10 this week for the first time
As
ever.
soon as you said sequence, I went, oh, I'm fucked. But that one was actually quite
Finn
easy.
O'Sullivan. Handy pick twos.
Yeah.
Except Will Ashcroft should have been pick one if they bidded.
Wouldn't Sam Darcy
Sam Darcy should have been pick one if they bid.
Yeah. So.
Riley Philthorpe should have been pick 3 or 4 if the bids had gone correctly. So, yeah, what can you say?
Yeah, well, I don't know what I scored, but I didn't do great.
Yeah, anyway, I think that's my...
I ran out of things that I have written down, so if you want to...
I wrote down things and we've spoken about them.
That's how this podcast sometimes works.
Sometimes I don't write down things and we speak about things. Oh, and today, it was genuinely a bit sad to see the Jamal Uhagen stuff. It seems like it's been taken over by the AFL.
I read...
It reads like he's being made to take some time away from the game. But it's hard to put into words. I just hope that whatever this step is the step he needs, because...
I just wonder if it is the start of Bulldogs saying, hey, we want this contract gone, or whether it's, hey, AFL, step in and please help us fix this.
I did see Mitch Cleary posted about it. It made me laugh, because he said... he said if the AFL clears... since now they've taken it out of the Bulldogs' hands, if they give them the right to clear the contract... it will give them the freedom in the salary cap to chase Port Adelaide player, ... And everyone's like, Zach Butters, right? And he went, Miles Bergman. Everyone's like, what?
Well, he's gone to St Kilda.
I'm pretty sure they're chasing Port Adelaide player Zach Butters.
Do they need him in that midfield right now?
No, but they want him. And apparently
Trelaw, Bont and
he's
Libba are old,
good buddies with Bont, apparently.
I can't see him playing anywhere that's not Geelong. If he moves, I think he'll stay.
I think they need him to stay to keep... Jason Horne-Francis.
Yeah, need to grab him by the scruff of the neck.
That was really funny. I don't mind
He
that.
just thought that Ken Hinkley was done talking, Jack. He just wanted to turn around and walk away.
I like that Horne-Francis is angry. I think it's good.
I actually think him being a petulant little bitch is good.
No, in the sense that, in that game... it's against North as well, which obviously is going to have layers to it.
Yeah.
He was part of the reason they won that game. And him being fired up is good for them. He plays better when he's fired up.
I definitely think that he has influenced so many games for Port. It's kind of crazy. But he's also had so many misses in that time.
For sure. He needs to learn to control it. But he is obviously, much like Butters, a player who is better on the edge.
Kane Corn said that no one should be getting into Jason Horne-Francis because he's won 30 games while at Port and North have only won 7. It's got nothing to do with
I
him
thought that was a really dumb take, but I did read as part of that Simpkins won 16 games in the last 6 years, and I went, that's brutal.
It's bad.
He was almost my stocks down this week, but I was really sick of laying into North. I thought if you're a captain in a game that's that close, you should be having significantly more impact on the game than he did. That was it. Oh, you were mentioning about GWS and the amount of inside 50s they allow, and it was being similar last year. There was some talk about expected score last week from Max Lawton, who does the Fox Footy podcast, and he does a bit of production for some Fox Footy stuff. And he was saying about teams almost always with expected score revert to the mean. That's obviously how it works, and it's the same with most stats. And I jokingly said, unless you're GWS, because all of last year they refused to revert to the mean, and they'd started this year off like that. And then on the weekend against the Bulldogs, they... oh boy, did they revert to the mean. They were under expected score by about 30 after a whole year of just trucking along. And it can be beaten. It can be beaten.
Yeah.
Geelong and GWS did it last year by you just have players like Jeremy Cameron and Hogan. And then Adelaide were beating it this year with just having Fogarty and Rochelle. If you feed the ball to your absolute dead-eye dicks in the forward line, you're going to beat the expected score because they kick better than the average player. But, again, this year, Carlton is another great example. They weren't that far behind on expected score in any of their losses, and now we're seeing the turnaround in form. Yeah. It is funny, though, that they've beaten 3 teams since the bye last year.
Yeah.
And Geelong's one of them.
And I truly hope that...
4 teams. So they're Carlton have beaten Richmond, North, West Coast, and Geelong. Which is odd, but...
If I think the other one before Richmond may have been Essendon.
Yeah.
So I hope that I don't have to wait to Essendon to watch my team win again.
That'd be sad. No, I think Carlton looked really good on the weekend.
It seems to be the way Carlton have gone under Michael Voss. They will have X amount of losses in a row and everything is doom and gloom, and then they will suddenly miraculously have 6 or 7 wins in a row and you go, what the fuck, where was this? And then they start losing again.
And have you seen how much the man can bench? Let's just... No one's going to argue with him in the coach's box.
No, and I don't think they do.
He'll press you through the window.
Now that he's back up in the box, they all have to watch what they're doing.
We need to, at the end of the year, just have, Uze, Kingsley, and Voss. Just go to a gym. I just want to see them. I want to see PRs set. They're all just massive units.
Just do it on grand final day.
It's kind of nuts.
Alongside the Yarra kick.
If they're not playing, if none of those 3 teams are playing, just get them out there. We do the sprint. We do bench presses and squats. We do the Yarra kick.
Triathlon.
Do them all.
It's a footy triathlon.
Yeah. No, all right. I think I'm done.
That's how you wrap up a podcast.
I'm done now. If you find us on socials at the Back Pocket AU, the website is thebackpocketau.com, not the other way around.
.com.au.
Yeah,
I was thinking
com.thebackpocket.au. And read This Week in Football when it comes out on Thursday. It's a great collection of stuff from people all over the internet who are not paid by various media outlets to push whatever their theme of the week is.
You will not see the Code Sports logo once.
You won't, nor will you see gambling ads. Actually, I did. Sorry, I'm not. We'll bring it up next week. It's fine. I had something from that to bring up that I thought was really interesting from Emlyn.
We'll do it next week.
But we can do that next week.
Just bring them up every week.
Credit to Dubois. Anyway, thanks for listening, and we will see you next week.
Bye.